Oh, goody.
Alright, what's going on everybody? Zombies here again, and today we're back with another Marvel Snap video. And we have an update on the whole situation with the Deadpool's leak from Griffin, the community manager. So if you don't know what went wrong with all that stuff, you didn't see the video. Basically, people figured out you could do some very easy win trading in the proving grounds for both sides to profit, get massive amounts of league points, and really pull ahead of the pack of anyone else not doing that. It became so widely known in a short period of time that Proving Grounds has been pretty much all of this for the last 12 hours or something. So it really just turned things into even more of who could just sit around and spam click all day. Which, I mean, one of the problems with leagues was that it was always going to be rewarding for whoever had the most time rather than who was ever the best player. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Let's read the response here. We want to thank all players for their feedback on the global launch of our new leagues format in the Deadpool League. We're aware of an exploit that has compromised the competitive integrity of the league. Due to this issue, we'll be rewarding all league participants the Deadpool emote and one neon blue border. All other league rewards will be rewarded based on the final standing when the league ends. We look forward to fixing this issue when Leagues returns in 2 weeks with the Jeff League. Keep the feedback coming. So, great news, and frankly, this is kind of what I was hoping would have been their solution, essentially. So they're giving out the main thing I think most people wanted, which was the Deadpool emote, and a border on top of that. So I think that is a great and fair response. It doesn't really screw over anyone super hard or really at all. The people who did the grinding don't get screwed. The people who didn't want to engage with it don't get screwed. The people who are at the bottom and didn't feel like engaging with leagues, you're probably getting more stuff than you would have got otherwise. So kind of a W for the community here, and that's a big part in why I like to draw attention to these issues. It's not about teaching people, the best way to exploit the system to screw over other people. It's about bringing awareness to the issue that it is, a very exploitable thing. It's not a good thing, and the company, should do something positive about it, and they did. So I view this as a pretty big win. That said, I really do hope they consider some other changes to the leagues, because while this issue was the most obvious and exploitable one, as I mentioned in the other video, there are other ways you can exploit these leagues. One example of that is, not climbing to infinite, or even just tanking your rank so you can farm worse players or bots if you're pre-infinite. That seems like a natural problem for this type of mode. Potentially an easy solution to that would be just making it so there are infinite and pre-infinite leagues. But even then, a lot of people don't care about their post-infinite rank. So that if you really care about maximizing your rewards, you could just be like, well, I'll just go out of my way to tank my rank, tank my MMR, get worse players, and have an easier time farming the league. Will that happen? Hard to say for sure, but we have seen, players really want the exclusive rewards at the top, so I do think that people will be willing to jump through some hoops to gain a competitive advantage in these type of things. Also, it's really funny that this is the second time they're talking about competitive integrity when the structure of these events isn't super competitively minded. A common point of complaint even before all this started was basically this is more about who can commit more time to it rather than who is actually the best performer, which, I mean, that's not super unique to a mobile game. Other mobile games do this stuff all the time, but I do think it does rub some people the wrong way that they're framing it as it's this competitive thing when it is definitely more of a grind-focused activity. The other big way I think leagues can be exploited, and we might see this next time, is so you don't get thrown into a league right away. You have to play a game once the feature goes live, and then it will throw you into a league. And what I've noticed in watching other players and members of the community is players who didn't get in a league right away on launch, who, maybe they were at work or were doing something else and didn't get a play for a few hours or maybe even the next day, they get inherently less competitive leagues on average from what I have seen. So that could be another way where people could exploit this. If you're someone who doesn't want to have to worry about sweating it out and facing the best of the best players, or the people who are really determined to grind, you could just wait and not play a game until later on, get yourself in a worse league, and absolutely clown on it. So that's another thing where I think there is work to be done in making this better if you actually want to create a more fair, quote-unquote, competitive experience for the players. Do I expect them to really address this stuff super quickly? Probably not, honestly. I don't know how their structure around handling this works. I don't know what they have the ability to do and to not do between now and the next league's event. I imagine they could just be doing like a band-aid fix where it's like, okay, we're either like removing Conquest altogether, or they're going to remove Proving Grounds and maybe Silver, because I know some people did it in Silver too. But I don't know for sure. It's hard to say. We'll have to wait and see. But hopefully this situation can kind of bring up these topics so that we can have better leagues in the future that are more fair and more fun for all of the player base. But yeah, that's our update on the Deadpool League situation. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. How do you feel about the resolution? How do you feel about the other things I brought up in terms of ways leagues can be kind of exploited? And what do you think the best solution would be for these leagues? The one I've really liked the most was basically suggesting that every player has the same amount of time within a league. So let's say the league is over a 2-day period of time. Well, basically you let each player have a set amount of time where they're competing for league points, whatever you want that to be. I'll use an example of, let's say, like 2 hours, 3 hours, something like that, where once you get in the league, maybe you have to like check something or click a box, and then you have a timer, and whatever you do in that time is what you end up with. I think that's probably the only way to make it a bit more fair for the people who don't have as much time to grind as like people who do. And I say that as, you know, like a streamer who has more time to grind than the average person. So I wouldn't mind seeing something like that, but I also don't necessarily think they're going to go that far with it, because, I mean, I think the end of the day, these are designed with getting players to play more time into the game, and doing something like that would just limit the potential of how much more people play. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.